Welcome to the TrackMacro video tutorial. During this video, we will present the interface and go through all the features offered by the software, including how to build your own portfolio. When new data is available, you will be asked whether you wish to download it or not. When you open TrackMacro for the first time, you will be asked to log in or register. If you haven't registered yet, click here. Then, fill in the form. Once all fields have been filled, a Submit button will appear. After we've confirmed your trial, you will receive by email your password. Please note the process can take up to 24 hours. After you've logged in, you will arrive at this screen called the heat map. On the left, you can see 4 different tabs that allow you to explore different functionalities that we will cover later in this tutorial. Here you have 2 icons. The one on the left is for your general settings and the one on the right for your portfolio settings. On the other side are icons that let you change your connection settings or register, access information about the software, minimize the program, resize the window, or exit. First, let's explore the general settings. Here, you can adjust various parameters of the model to suit your needs, such as the currency, the risk-free asset, the hedging cost, etc. Simply click on Select or the plus or minus button to adjust. If you click on the question mark, you can see a detailed description of each parameter. Once your parameters are set, you can click on Apply to apply them to the current session only. To save the parameters for future sessions as well, click on Apply and Save. Now let's explore the various signals TrackMacro offers. We are back at the heat map. Here you can see at a glance the equity risk in the 40 countries covered by TrackMacro. In simple terms, blue means risk on and red means risk off. The signals are released at the end of each month for the subsequent month. You can see an estimate of the equity risk for the following month by clicking on Next. Those signals will be adjusted as data is released. If you want to look at the history of signals recorded by the software, you can click on the History tab. To go back further in time, simply left-click and drag the table. Here the countries are grouped in 2 categories, developed and emerging markets. You can see one or the other by clicking on the tabs on the top right. Now let's explore a country profile by clicking on Country on the left. Here we present for each country the final signals and the 7 rules used to infer the signals. You can also go back in history by clicking and dragging the table. In addition to the signals, you can explore the performance of the model itself. If you click on the performance, you will see the return, volatility, and maximum drawdown for the model, as well as the equity index and risk-free asset. These statistics are shown for the total time period, as well as for risk-on and risk-off periods specifically. If you click on Drawdown, you can compare the drawdowns of the model and the equity index. If you click on NAV, you can graphically observe the performance of the model and the underlying assets. Please be aware that the Y-scale is logarithmic. If you want to zoom in on a specific period of time, simply left-click and drag the pointer left or right to zoom in or out. To change the period, left-click and drag left or right. If you click on 1 year rolling, you will see the 1 year rolling performance of the model, the equity index, and the risk-free asset. Here you can also zoom on a specific period. Finally, under Information, you will be reminded of the different settings chosen for the model. At any time, you can click on the question mark to get help. There are different ways to select the specific country you want to study. First, under the Country tab, you can click and drag the horizontal red bar at the bottom of the screen. You can also click on Heat Map and simply click on a country's name. Under the History tab, you can also click on a country's name. Now, let's see how you can build your own portfolio. Click on the Portfolio Settings icon on the top left. Here you can set country weights in one of 2 ways. You can use portfolio templates, such as the Asian GDP weighted or the World GDP weighted templates. Alternatively, you can assign custom equity weights to each country in risk-on and risk-off periods. The sum of your weights appear on the top right. Let's start with a clean slate by putting the weight of all countries to 0 in risk-on and risk-off modes. Then, let's assign a risk-on weight of 30% to U.S. equities. Now, when the model is risk-on for the U.S., 30% of my portfolio is invested in U.S. equities. When the model is risk-off, my exposure to U.S. equities will fall to the risk-off weight, which is now 0. This implies the entire 30% U.S. allocation will be shifted to the risk-free asset chosen in settings, such as the local 10-year government bond. If I want 5% country exposure to France and Italy, I select both boxes and follow the same procedure. Now, let's say I want a 20% risk-on exposure and a 5% risk-off exposure for UK equities. This means that in a risk-off moment, I will still have 5% in the UK equity market and 15% in the risk-free asset. Let's continue to build the portfolio until we reach 100% exposure. You can also use some leverage if you want, increasing your exposure over 100%. Don't forget to adjust the leverage cost in the general settings. You can adjust the transaction cost for each country under this tab. Let's assume it is a bit higher for Mexico. Now let's check how the portfolio we built performs. Here you can see what should be the allocation according to the constraints we saved and the risk-on and risk-off signals. As everything is blue, we should be fully invested in equities in those countries. If you click on Past, you will see the historical equity allocation of your portfolio. Let's see how this portfolio behaved in the past by clicking on Performance. Here you can see the return, volatility, drawdown, and Sharpe ratio, along with other statistics of the model and the index. You can also check the historical drawdown, the one-year rolling performance, and the NAV. As before, the information section will remind you of the different settings. That's it. You've been introduced to all the features of TrackMacro. Thank you very much for watching this video. Now we encourage you to download it and start your trial if you've not already done so. Build your portfolio, adjust the settings, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to go to our website and contact us.